Hello, First Family. I hope you are excited for another episode of Changing the Game. I hope you enjoyed our first 7 episodes. In episode 8, I am particularly excited about because of the fact that we have someone from Miami Ocean Rescue coming. So if you're excited about a potential water game in the future, this is the live for you. I hope you're excited for our guest, Daniel Martin. So Daniel, when you can see us, please put in the request to join the live. We'll have you on. And again, if you guys are excited for a potential water game, shoot that here in the comments. Let us know. Alright guys, so I hope you are excited, as excited as I am for our guest here on the next episode of Changing the Game, Daniel Martin from Miami Beach Ocean Rescue. I'm super excited to have him on here. If you are excited about a potential water game, throw that hashtag water game in here. It looks like we've got Daniel. He's joined. Daniel, make sure to put in the request to go live with me so that we can hop you on. I am looking forward to this discussion. I know a lot of you are excited about a potential future water game, and we've got Daniel from Miami Beach Ocean Rescue about to go live with us. So we're going to talk about the technology behind his role in keeping people safe in the ocean and on land, and we'll see how we can connect that to robotics. So Daniel, if you haven't seen it, you should, right when you pop in, you should see a invite to ask to join live. Click on that. If you're not seeing that, exit and then hop back in. I did see you wave, so I know you're in here somewhere. I see some hashtag water games from Robo Orda. So Daniel, you should see it right away when you enter the live. There should be kind of a box that says request to go live with First. If you're not seeing it right now, then exit quick and hop back in. We're definitely excited to have you join us. If not, let me see if there's any way I can request you. There we go. I see your request. And it looks like we'll have him on in a second now. There we go.
There it goes. Sorry about that.
No
I haven't done a
worries.
live in like a year, so I didn't remember how to do it.
No worries. It's changed a lot too, so I feel like every day Instagram is changing a little bit. But I was just telling the students that we're excited to have you on. The idea of a water game for some of the first competitions has been kind of like this mysterious, fun, potential future thing that everyone's always joking about and kind of wanting. So us having this conversation about some of the STEM behind something that's related to the ocean and water is going to be super exciting. So for everyone, I see Turkey, I see Slovenia. Throw in what countries you're coming from, your team names, your team numbers. Some of your, if you do want a water game, throw in that hashtag water game. And then, of course, if you have any questions for Daniel, please put them in there as well. We'll go over some of those as we go on with the discussion. And we want to hear, from you all. But thanks, first of all, thanks, Daniel, for joining us. I know you've had a pretty crazy week, and I think you were in the news a couple times for some good things. So let's start with that. The first photo that we shared for you on the promotion was just recently, where you had kind of helped rescue some people out in the ocean. So what happened this week? Let everyone know kind of what went on.
So that was on Saturday. I wasn't supposed to be working. I was supposed to be on my day off, and they called me for overtime, and I was like, yeah, I can use the money. So I took the day, and I was over at South Beach on 5th Street, and we have a rip current. Well, we have a lot of rips with the wind that we have going on these days. We have a lot of rips that are pulling pretty strong. Okay. And just north of the 5th Street Tower, there's a rip current that's pulling almost right from shore. Like a few feet from shore, you're already getting pulled out.
Wow.
And so I was making my money that day. I was really working for that overtime because everybody kept going in that same spot. Everybody comes out through the street there, and but I would see people get in, and as soon as I start whistling, they're already getting pulled out, and they couldn't get out. They were like, okay. First I had these 2 young kids, And then another girl got pulled out with them, and I had to go rescue them. And then a little while later was the other rescue that the photographer was nearby, and he took a picture and gave it to us.
Okay.
But no, the girl jumped in the water, and she just started getting pulled back immediately out to the ocean. And she wasn't a strong swimmer at all. She didn't swim well. A guy went out to try to help her as I was whistling at her, trying to get her back. And the guy couldn't help her. I gave him a chance to be a little bit of a hero there. He couldn't do it. He started swimming back. He's like, come on. And I was like, all right. And I jumped out and I got her. It was no big deal, but she was definitely in trouble. Like, a lot of people don't realize they're in trouble till it's too late.
Okay.
So that's part of the job. It's not only helping people when they're in trouble, it's realizing when people are going to get into trouble before they even realize it.
Okay. So, yeah, we'll go back a little bit in a second to your background, but this, I think, already has so many topics that we can discuss how maybe technology fits in that space. So, you mentioned it's kind of difficult to just view and see that rip, right? So, can you explain a little bit about how that happens? And then, is there any way that you can detect it as a person, when you're going out there? And then maybe there's a way for us to help, throw some technology in there to start detecting something like that.
You mean to detect, like to see where the rip current is?
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to? Okay. Yeah. So, we work on the lifeguard towers. The lifeguard towers, we're like usually about 10 feet off of, up off the sand.
Okay.
And the beach is already a little bit elevated at that point, so that really helps us visualize the whole beach and see what's going on, and it gives us a better view of where the rip currents are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not familiar with what a rip current is or how it works, it's not that complicated. It's basically so you have the sandbar. You know what the sandbar is, right? So everybody always goes out to the sandbar. Before you get to the sandbar, it usually gets kind of deep. That we call that the gully.
Okay.
And then you make it to the sandbar and it's shallow. And then after that, you get the deeper part of the ocean. Most beaches, you get one sandbar and then it goes a little bit deeper and that's it.
Okay.
So what happens is you get what's like a rip forms in the sandbar. So imagine you have a long sandbar, and with the weather and stuff like that, you get a part of that sandbar that gets pulled out. The sand gets pulled out. Mm. So you'll have sandbar, a deeper area, and then a sandbar. That deeper area is where the rip is.
Okay.
So if we have a windy day, here it would be on Miami Beach, when we have like typically east wind day, you get all the water getting pushed over the sandbar into shore, but the water has to wash out. So because of gravity, it washes out to the deepest point. It can't wash out over the sandbar. So what happens? It all goes into the rip current because that's the deepest part. So gravity forces all the water out. It forms a river, like a little river there, pulling you out, and that's the rip current. That's basically what it is, and it can pull pretty strongly. And then right after the sandbar, it kind of just plumes out, and it's not pulling you anymore.
Okay, so that makes it difficult for someone to try to swim back towards the shore, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So what you should do is swim to the sandbar that's next to you. So instead of trying to swim to shore, which is what everybody always wants to do, because they're afraid of going out to sea, whether they're afraid of sharks or whatever it is, or they're just afraid of being pulled out, all they need to do is swim to the side. Like that rescue that I did on Saturday, the kids that were in the water earlier, it was relatively low, the tide. It wasn't very, very deep, but they were too young or too short to step in that part. The father was on the sandbar, and he was like to his shins in the water.
Okay.
And he was maybe 20, 30 feet away from them, and they couldn't touch the ground.
Wow. So
all they had to do is instead of trying to swim to me on the shore, they just had to swim over to the sandbar. They would have been fine.
Okay. So I feel like it's almost against your instincts to go away from the shore when you're kind of struggling in that situation.
Yeah.
But that's very interesting. I mean, knowing the science of how that works can save someone's life. And, maybe it's a little bit more complicated, but teams can start thinking about, how do you measure wind? How do you measure the direction of the wind? Are there any other ways that you can kind of identify some of the conditions that might lead to a rip current? So students out there, if you're interested in something like this, if you've experienced it, or if you've had friends that experienced it, maybe that's one avenue you can start going down to analyze kind of the situation. And you all use different types of sensors on your robots. Something like being able to sense wind and direction is something that might be able to potentially help in the situation. The other thing that I saw, Daniel, is that you went out there and all you had was your orange, I think it's called a buoy, correct? Right?
Yeah, it's
Just you and a
a
buoy.
torpedo
So
buoy.
talk to us about the buoy. Is there any science behind it? Is it just a big orange yellow thing that's easy for that person to see? Or is it like, is there some kind of thought behind it?
Okay, so the way it's called a torpedo buoy.
Okay.
So a buoy is just like a flotation device. Like you have there's buoys out in the water for like fishermen use buoys when they throw their lines down and the lines will be attached to a buoy so they know where their lines are and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just round buoys. We have torpedo buoys, and
Okay.
the torpedo buoys is just because of the shape of it. So it's kind of long. It's long because you want it to cut through the waves. You don't want to be dragging something behind you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want something kind of narrow and long, and you have a line at the end of it. That way, it can cut through the water easily, and when you're trying to swim out, you're not getting pulled back by the waves.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's just a buoy, a long buoy with a line attached to the front, and then at the end of it, we have something that we can throw over our shoulder that just stays on top of us. You know. So we run out with the buoy, we untie it as we're running over to the water, throw it over your shoulder, and just throw the buoy behind you, and you run into the water and you swim out, and that thing just cuts through all the waves. And it's obviously it's hollow, it's plastic, and it's hollow, so it floats really well, and it has a handle on each side, so you can get a bunch of if you have 3-4 victims, they can all hold on to that and they can stay up.
Okay, so there's like not necessarily multiple handles, but there's enough space that on each side more than one person could grab on.
Yes, yeah. There's actually a handle in the back, and there's a long handle on either side of it.
Okay, and I'm assuming, well, one, it's hollow to help with flotation, but is that also to reduce weight and make it easier for you to be able to return those people to safety? Yes,
yeah. You don't want something heavy, of course. You want it to be to hold up a lot of weight while the item itself not being heavy. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty lightweight.
Yeah, and then you mentioned it's long, but is it also shaped in a certain way? Is it curved? My guess is that you want it to be as kind of efficient as possible in terms of the way that it cuts through the water.
Yeah. So where the line is attached, it's kind of pointy. Like think of like an arrow or a cone.
Okay.
And then it's like that in the front, and then it's kind of just narrow in the back, and it's rounded in the back. The body of it's kind of narrow, and then it's rounded in the back. Okay. But the front of it is cone shaped, so that it doesn't get pulled back by the waves.
Okay, I see. Well, yeah, that's crazy because you think you just look at it as this big orange floating thing, but there's a lot of thought that goes into how do you make this tool as effective as possible for the lifeguard, for the people that you might be trying to help out, and understanding kind of how that object moves through the water is really important. So students, again, here's another area where you can think of. This has been something that's probably been used for a very long time and maybe has kind of adapted and adjusted and been reshaped or new materials, but you all can look at even deeper into what materials could make that more effective, or what shapes could be best for different scenarios. So in something as simple as just a buoy, there could be a lot of opportunities for you all to come up with some innovative ideas. Because of what happened, this past week, and we dug in right into some of the science right away, but I want to go back a little and just understand a little bit of your background growing up. Were you very active? Were you always by the ocean? Is this something that you've always been passionate about? Or how did you end up, kind of going down this path to becoming part of the Miami Beach Ocean Rescue?
So I was born and raised right here in Miami. So I've always been near the beach. I've always gone to the beach. I learned how to swim when I was pretty young. My mom took me to swim classes, so I never really worried about the water. I wasn't like Michael Phelps or anything. I wasn't the greatest swimmer, but I've always been able to swim just fine. And even when I went to the beach, it's like one of those things, I never even realized the lifeguards were there. You know what I mean? And I never had lifeguards whistling at me because I always swam fine.
Yeah, you felt
But
comfortable there.
yeah, which is, I mean, it's very important. Like, I always tell people that have young kids, I'm like, teach them how to swim when they're young, because they try to learn when they're older, it's really is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting, like, for me, just getting those lessons when I was young helped me a lot. Like, I don't swim as well as a lot of the guys that work with me, that they're professional. Like, we have a lot of Cuban guys that work with me, and these guys were part of, like, the Cuban national water polo team.
Wow.
And, they're part of the Cuban national team for swimming and water polo and all that. And you see those guys, and you go, oh, these guys don't swim that well. You look at them, and you wouldn't imagine how fast and how well they swim.
Wow.
Even being out of shape for them because they're older now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But a lot of the guys that worked there were swimmers growing up. I was never a swimmer per se. I was always a runner. I've always been doing distance running, and I've done marathons and stuff like that. I've always been very active.
Yeah.
So I was in paramedic school back in like 2008. I did fire academy, and then I did paramedic school. And one of the guys that was in school with me, he worked at Miami Beach, and he told me to apply. He knew I was an athlete and all that. He's like, you should go apply. It pays pretty well, this and that. He told me about it. I'm like, that sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like 3 weeks away, the test. And the test, they make you do like a run, swim, run. So on the beach, you run from one lifeguard tower to the next, and you jump in the water. They set up these buoys. You got to swim out to the buoy, go around it to the next buoy that's over by the next tower. Then you come out of the water, and then you do another run. And it's almost like a triathlon. You get like 100 people out. But he told me to apply. I applied, and I took the test, and I got hired on my first try. I did pretty decent. My running helped me a lot on the running part, but the swimmers were.
You had to catch up on the run.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of endurance, so it really helps me. I'm not like, if you look at my form compared to real swimmers, like those guys have great form, They're really relaxed in the water. I've gotten a lot better because I practice at it. But when I first started, like, you can see a big difference with me and somebody who actually grew up swimming.
Okay. Yeah, I feel there's probably a ton of physics and like the proper movement in order to get through the water, just like we were talking about with the best, most efficient way to get through the water. So just by understanding how your body works and moves and the physics behind it, I'm sure you can make yourself a better swimmer or a better runner without even necessarily getting any stronger. That's one of the cool things I think about
technique,
the science of your body. Yeah,
technique is like, if you see the way these guys swim, they look like they're effortless because they glide in the water. They're not, like, if you look at me, since I use my endurance, I am like stroking a lot, and these guys are like, they glide in the water and they take these long strokes, and they'll get across a pool in a few strokes, maybe half the amount of strokes that it takes me.
Okay.
And that takes power, but other than that, it takes a lot of technique, knowing how to cut through the water properly, the way your body works.
So there's a perfect example that it's not just talent, it's about understanding the science of how your body works and how you get through the water. We've been getting a lot of good comments. A couple people want you to teach them how to swim, so you might get some swim lessons out of here. Hola Flor from Mexico, and we've got some shout outs from Puerto Rico and a few other Spanish speaking countries. So saludos a todos que hablan español. And keep shouting out where you're from, what team you're on, your team number, what country you're representing, and keep asking questions in the comments that you might have for Daniel, some of the things we've talked about already, or any other ideas that you guys want to learn a little bit more about, and keep that hashtag water game coming if that's something that you guys are excited about. So the next kind of direction I want to take this in is there something within your kind of industry, sport, etc., whatever you want to call it, that people would be kind of surprised to see that either there is a lot of technology or there's a lack of technology when it comes to your work?
I would say there's a lack of tech. We do have some technologies that have, helped us over the years, because if you go back to like the 1920s and stuff like that, and when Lifeguard started, they used to use what we call the dory boats, which are like rowboats.
Okay.
And I got some information before, is from one of the other guys. He's a little bit more familiar with the history of how everything started with lifeguarding. But they used to use these rowboats, these dories, to go out and help with like shipwrecks and stuff like that, and it was all part of the Coast Guard. And then later on, the municipalities, the different cities, and stuff like that, started using that stuff as well. And they started putting in the beaches, which you might have seen. I'm sure you've seen it in a pool with no lifeguard. The ring, the buoy that's just like a ring.
That has the rope on the end of it.
Yeah. So what the cities would do, they would have just like a little spot with some rescue tools, like a buoy or whatever. And then the public, if somebody was drowning, they can take that and try to get it to that person to help them out, because a lot of places didn't have lifeguards, and lifeguards came later on. Yeah. And like even when I started working in Miami Beach about 12 years ago, one of the cities north of me is Surfside. And I remember when I would run through Surfside, you can see at all the entrances, you can see those buoys because they didn't have lifeguards then. Now they do have one or two lifeguard towers. Yeah. But you can see the buoys still there on the walkway before the beach, so people can use it if they need it.
Almost like do it yourself.
Do it yourself, yeah. So I mean, one of the things, let's say, that has helped a lot is polarized glasses. Something you wouldn't think of technology, but polarization in glasses helps a lot. It helps you see through the water. It cuts the glare and it lets you see what's underneath the surface.
Interesting.
Which a lot of times people are like, oh, but where's the rip current or where is this? And I sometimes I give them my glasses so they can use them because they don't realize their glasses are not polarized.
Yeah.
And once they put them on, they're like, oh my God, it's like a whole new world. You know, you can see everything.
Okay.
Which happened recently. Like you can see all the schools of fish coming by, the manatees and all that. And you can sometimes see it from the shore with regular glasses, but when you put on polarized glasses, it's like you can clearly see it, especially when you're on the lifeguard tower. But like we use communication. It originally started with like flags or whistles. Like maybe one lifeguard will be on one station, he had to go for a rescue, and he'd whistle to the other lifeguard, maybe whistle 3 times, meaning I'm going to do this, or you know, signal him that way to communicate. Now we have radios, which you know, wireless radios. I think when some of the guys started in Miami Beach, some of the lifeguard towers even had phones. Not all of them. They would use phones, like wired phones, always not cell phones.
Like the corded.
So yeah, but now we have waterproof radios, which you can communicate throughout the whole city, and we communicate with dispatch.
Okay.
So we have, let's see, we have jet skis and the ATVs, which is another form of technology which helps a lot. We have the boat. We have a rescue boat that always drives up and down the beach.
Okay.
And I know there's some technologies that are available now that we don't have, because one of the problems with technology is at first it's very expensive. It has to become more cost effective for cities to start implementing those things.
Okay.
Because it's not only the cost and also the efficiency of the technology. Because a lifeguard can get out to a victim very quickly. We can implement stuff that they're using now, like drones. You can get a drone and fly a buoy out to somebody, but you need somebody to drive the drone. And also technology tends to malfunction or doesn't, you know, it can just not work, or it can mess up on the way over there or whatever. So you always want to have a lifeguard on the way. I know some beaches implement a drone. You get a buoy out to the person. He can hold on to the buoy until the lifeguard can get to him. So, you know, the drone get there much quicker than we can.
Yeah.
But in the end, they need us to pull them back in to help them out.
Okay. So that's I'm glad you mentioned that, because someone had just asked that question about if you guys use drones at all. So that kind of helps answer that question. And it's cool because it seems like it's a combination of that technology, but then also the human lifeguard aspect. So you're able to get something out there to the person right away, while then you're, you know, kind of the expert in getting that person out of the water is able to get there and do the other part of it. So leveraging technology to amplify your role in ways that you might not be able to. It's pretty cool. Do any of those drones implement any kind of like cameras or communication? Like, can the drone talk to the person to try to calm them down? Like, how far have you seen them take some of this drone technology when it comes to helping save people's lives?
So what some of the beaches are using already is they have a microphone on the, not a microphone, like a bullhorn or a speaker on the drone. One of the problems with communicating with the public, let's say there's somebody going too far out and he's in a bad spot, or I can see he's a weak swimmer, he's gonna have trouble coming back. Sometimes we have trouble communicating with them because even with the whistle, when you have really windy days, they can't hear it. The waves are crashing next to them. There's a lot of wind. If the wind is going against me, that affects how the sound travels. So sometimes you'll have the other lifeguard help you whistle at him, but a lot of times they can't hear you. So now they're implementing drones that they can fly out and they can speak to the different people, tell them, come in closer or whatever. They communicate with the public like that.
Okay. That's awesome, man. And I'm sure as drone technology gets more effective and more advanced, you guys can find even more ways to connect that to kind of amplify your role. So students, if you're excited about drones, this is one additional application outside of maybe some of the others that you've thought about. How can you take some of that, the advances in drone technology and apply it to a situation like this? I want to go to a question here from Max. Yes, we're definitely taking questions. And Max is saying, I'm an FRC student and my summer job is beach lifeguarding. So that's awesome. We've got a robotics student that's also doing some lifeguarding. He finds both super fun and is wondering what careers that relates to rescue and engineering. So, I think we've kind of covered a couple ideas of how you take some of these technologies and then apply them to it. So maybe drone technology can be one of those. Is there any other thing that really stands out to you? I know, again, somebody has to manufacture those buoys. Somebody's manufacturing those jet skis and the radios that you talked about. So my initial thought is for the student, any other students that are interested in both, to look at what some of those technologies are and continue to find ways to innovate in that space. Is there anything else that stands out for you, Daniel, or it's okay if you just want to just re-emphasize one of the ones you already talked about?
Something else that I've seen that some beaches are using, I don't know how many beaches are actually using this, but there's like a remote controlled buoy. There's a buoy with like a propeller in the back. So they'll have it, let's say they'll have it by the lifeguard tower near the shoreline. And when they see somebody in a trouble spot and they need help, the lifeguard will push the buoy in the water and drive it over to the person. And that buoy can hold up a lot of weight. It can cut through all the waves. And in the meantime, you have a lifeguard swimming over there, but the buoy can get there very quickly and hold up many people. So that's something that I know some places are using, but at the same time, like I said, you need somebody now to drive that. You need I don't know how expensive it is. It has to be cost effective. Yeah. And it has to be durable. Another problem we have with the beach is the salt. It destroys everything. Yeah. The sun and the salt destroys everything. So like our ATVs, we get new ATVs about every 2 years, but when it's coming to that 2-year point, they're already in bad shape. Like we're getting them constantly fixed. The brakes start to lock up. Some of the different brands we've used, like maybe the engines won't last very long. And some of them, the engine will be fine, but then the structure of the ATV itself will be rusting and falling apart. So a lot of these things aren't very durable. The jet skis break down all the time, and we have to have them fixed. I was thinking maybe I don't know if they've made electric jet skis yet, but that would be pretty cool. With electric jet skis, with gas every day. Just maybe plug it in and charge it.
Okay, nice. I like that.
Something that you can also use the drones for that I just remembered is, so let's say we have what we call a codex. A codex is when we have a victim. Let's say somebody is out there and far out and they're having trouble and then they drown. They go underwater. They don't resurface. We call that a codex. Now we have to do a search and recovery. We have to find the body. And what we've done in the past is we've had to go up on top of buildings. Wow. So that we can see from the top, look for shadows in the water, because it's hard to see from the shoreline, especially on those really bad days when there's a lot of waves going crashing and stuff. Yeah. But they're implementing drones for that now. So you get the camera on the drone, you just fly way up there, and you start searching for the body of the drone as the lifeguards also search the water. Wow.
That's wild. And we've got a.
I guess thermal.
Go ahead.
Thermal, something that they're using on some boats, I believe, like maybe the Coast Guard using stuff, is like thermal imaging. Like let's say there's a camera underneath the boat and they're looking for a body.
Yeah.
They can look for it through the heat, the heat from the body through thermal imaging. That's something that I believe they're already using.
Okay.
Let me see. I wrote a few things down here. Okay, so like with the phones, now we have apps that do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's an app called Pulse Point. Anybody can download it. And what Pulse Point does is it communicates with dispatch.
Okay.
So let's say there's an emergency and somebody calls rescue, or there's somebody drowning and somebody in the building, which we get all the time. Somebody in the building calls for somebody drowning in the water when we're off duty. And then dispatch will get called, and dispatch will put that into the app. And then anybody within a certain distance will get notified, and they can see that there's something going on. So we've had some lifeguards that have been off duty. Maybe they stay a little, they stay a little later surfing or hanging out talking or whatever. We're already off duty. We don't have our radios. And then the Pulse Point app will go off and it'll notify them there's something going on, and they've rescued people because of the app, which is pretty cool. You have something that pretty much notifies anybody who's a first responder in the area, and they can respond and help out. You might be in the supermarket, shopping, and something's happening 4 aisles over. You don't know about it, but the app will tell you. You can go over there and help out.
That's awesome. And it's cool that anybody can download it and kind of be part of that solution. I think you gave a lot of really good ideas for. Let me go back to see the person's name. I believe it was Max. Yeah, Max. So there's a lot of really good ideas that Daniel just shared that showcase, wide variety of technologies that you can help innovate on and make more prepared for these type of situations, whether that's making something waterproof, whether that's making it more resistant to the kind of environment, as Daniel was explaining, against corrosion, against the impact from the salt or the heat, all those kind of different factors. And I really want to give this person a shout out. It looks like her name is Katya Silverfire. I'm not sure if you're on a first team. If you are, share what team you're on and where you're from. But she said solar powered jet skis. That's genius. You mentioned potential electric powered, but here in Miami, you're getting plenty of sun. That'd be great to see us leverage the power of the sun. Or maybe it's an electric jet ski that you charge at a solar powered station. I think there's a ton of different ways that you all can use your creative skills that you've gained from this program to help advance the tools that Daniel and his peers are using. So I'm glad, Daniel, that you're sharing with us these different kind of aspects that we might not always realize when we go to the beach, but that are part of your toolkit to help kind of save people's lives. So Max also said he's going to ask his agency if they can commission a drone in case of a Codex. When it comes to that underwater aspect of it, do you view that as an area that needs a lot more technology too? You mentioned that you go up on the buildings and stuff too, because my guess is that it's not efficient or effective for you to just go down and start swimming around, right? It's going to make it worse for you to be able to rescue that person. So are there any other kind of aspects you think that that's one of the areas the team should really explore?
You know what? I just got an idea. You know how they have all these little nano machines, like all these little robots that all work together, and they can build stuff, and they can all separate or they can come together. Maybe something like that for searching for. I mean, we don't have Codexes often, at least not in Miami Beach. Since I've worked there in the 12 years, I think we've had maybe 3 or 4. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it's not something that happens often. But you're trying to find the body, and there's waves, and the water's murky, and it's hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
We do it pretty. It's pretty old school the way we do it. We all form a line, and we dive down, and we also hold a rope so we all can stay within the same distance from each other, and we swim down and come up, and swim down and come up, and it can be very difficult to find something like that in the water when there's a lot of waves, a lot of current. You don't know where the body went. It could have gotten pulled out with the grip current, and now it's half a block over, which has happened before, and that's why you would go on the building and look around to get a good idea of where it might be and communicate through the radio to the people on the ground. But underwater, I don't know. I mean, something that can search for bodies, but like I said, that's not something that happens very often.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe something. I know there's something some of the guys use for swimming, which is like it's like an ankle. It's like a little ankle bracelet, like something you put around your ankle,
Mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to scare off sharks. Because you know they say sharks work off off a magnetic field, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's supposed to like scare them away. If they get anywhere within a certain distance from you, they basically get scared off by the signal it sends out.
Okay, interesting. That's another area that most people might not think about. How do you keep yourself safe from scenarios like that, and how could you use technology to do that in areas where maybe there's a higher risk of something going on? Katia responded. She said North Miami Beach Senior High School. She was on the first robotics competition team there, and is alum now. So congrats on graduating. I hope you're enjoying your pursuit past that, and maybe creating that solar powered jet ski will be one of your next steps in your career after first. I'm glad you're still involved, Katia, and thanks for your
I'll give
question.
Katia a shout out. She's one of my friends from rock climbing. But yeah, she's
nice.
she knows the program. She told me about it.
Okay,
The
great.
first
Small world, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome to see. We've also seen a ton of comments from Brazil. I saw some from Turkey, different areas around the United States. So keep sharing where you all are from. Throw in some hashtag water games. It looks like your tia might be on the call as well. I see proud of your nephew.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of hearts, especially with some of the technology aspects that you've been sharing. So keep throwing. I see them both in the comments and in the little kind of like feature. So keep throwing in that love and the questions as well as your comments. So let's go into.
I have a few other things. I have a few other things that I have here. Like something we use now is lightning detectors. So lightning is a problem on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
We try to keep people, especially out of the water when there's lightning.
Yeah.
So we have different. I'm not sure if they use like WeatherBug or what they use in the office, but
Mm-hmm.
the operations supervisor will be in the office and he gets a call whenever there's lightning within a certain distance from the beach. So then we can get everybody out of the water. We put up double red flags to keep everybody out of the water. So, which the flag system, I mean, I don't know if you think that like technology, but that's something they didn't have before. And we started using it to let the public know. Now that the public, with the news and all that, talking about it, people actually come out and they look to see what the flags are. And if they're green, they're like comfortable going out. If it's red or yellow, they know to be a little bit more cautious about it, or they'll come up to us and ask us about the flags.
Okay. I like that. So yeah, I mean, I definitely seen the flags. One thing that, at least from my perspective, if you go to the beach often, you start to remember what colors mean what, but maybe someone who is not from this area, doesn't often go to the beach, may not recognize that right away. But first thing that comes to mind, I wonder if there's a way that you can kind of send out an automatic text to people in a certain radius that says, okay, there's lightning within the space.
I think if you have, like, I know I have the WeatherBug app, and it lets me know when there's lightning within a certain range of my phone. So, with GPS technology, GPS is a big one. Mm-hmm. That's how Pulse Point works, because of GPS. Everybody has GPS in their phones, and it can track where everybody is, as well as the WeatherBug app will do the same thing. It knows where you're at, knows there's lightning within a certain distance, and it'll let you know and notify you.
Okay. That's great. Again, simple ways that technology are keeping people safe, and allowing them to enjoy their time more, and then also aiding you in your work as well.
Yeah, and we have like I know I go on an app called the Wind Guru, and that lets you know a lot about the. It lets you know, like, when a lot of the guys that surf more. I don't surf as much. I surf a little bit, but some of the guys that surf more, they go on Wind Guru and they'll look at what the waves are going to be like for the next few days, and it's gotten I guess with technology, it's gotten better figuring out what the weather's going to be for the next few days. It's gotten more accurate than it has been in the past. So they'll go on there and they'll look, are we going to get a swell in the next couple of days, or are there going to be waves, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, so that they can go out and surf, and that also helps us know what's going to happen that day on the beach. Because if we do get a swell, like the rip currents I was talking about before, it's not only with wind. You can have a day it's not windy at all, but if you have a swell, you have all that water rushing in through the waves, and it has to wash out, and we have what's called a flash rip. It'll be a rip current just when that set of waves comes in. All that water has to rush out, and then the rip current will die down after that set comes through, and you have to wait for the next set, and then the rip current will form again.
Okay.
Not form, it'll pull. It'll start working again.
Start hanging out, yeah, kind of pulling you out towards if you're not prepared or in the right spot. Okay, yeah, that's again. How do we find more ways to kind of prevent these situations by using technology, preventing people from getting into that position in the first place? In addition to the technology that we're using to help you when they are in that situation, I'm guessing that the more we can prevent it, the better. So
something I have an idea for, like, because we deal with a lot of medical cases that are not water related on the beach.
Okay.
We have a lot of heat exhaustion is a big one. We get a lot of people that go out there.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been partying. It's Miami, so they've been partying the night before, and they don't, maybe they didn't eat breakfast, or they drank a bunch of coffee. They didn't drink any water in the morning, and they come out and they hang out on the beach for an hour or two. Especially if you come from drier climates. If you come to Miami Beach, it's very humid. You sweat a lot. So that combination of the sun with the humidity, people start to feel bad. They don't know what's going on. They don't realize it's heat. They're dehydrated. So maybe I know, like, I've looked into things like graphene, and there's a lot. They're working on using graphene for all sorts of stuff, because it's like it's like one atom thin.
Yeah.
And they've talked about using it in like clothing and all that.
Okay.
And maybe something that can check your vitals, like something in your clothing. Like maybe you have a bathing suit and it's already reading the vital signs and stuff like that. That would be pretty cool.
That'd be amazing. So it could find a way to, whether it's graphene or some other solution, find a way to easily detect when someone might be getting dehydrated, or any other kind of indicator that they might be in trouble. I think that's really cool and could be used in a lot of different sports, not just the scenario we're talking about,
definitely.
But in a lot of sports, or just to keep people healthy in general. I feel like there's so much going on in our bodies that we are unaware of. And I feel like the more that we can leverage technology to understand what's happening on the inside and what decisions we're making, what we're putting into our body, how much we're resting or not, I think that would be absolutely transformational for a lot of people and kind of improve the quality of their life. But that's also great that you mentioned that it's, when we think of lifeguarding, we think of ocean rescue, you're thinking about the water, but you're in charge of that whole space and supporting people there. And particularly in Miami Beach, where there's a lot of tourism, people that might not be used to this weather all the time, or may not spend a lot of time at the beach, technology like that might be able to better prepare someone who is not used to that environment.
Yeah, another one we use for medicals is the AED. Do you know what an AED is?
Heart stuff, right?
Yeah, it's automated external defibrillator.
Okay.
So if you have somebody having a heart condition, or you put it on them. Maybe they were drowning. We rescued them, and we're doing CPR. You would put the AED on them, which is a pad that goes one in the front and one on the side. Okay. And then you'll turn the machine on, and the machine will read their heart rhythm and determine whether it needs to give a shock to reset the heart, to kind of reset the heart and get that heart rhythm going back to normal. So that's another one. That's a really big one, actually. Yeah. You don't get that. You get that everywhere. The fire department uses it in their EKG machines to read heart rhythms. Okay. They can also defibrillate with those machines. So
nice. Yeah, again, so many different aspects. I feel like we've touched on so many cool things that you don't always think about how much engineering and technology goes into making those possible. And not only are they making your job easier, they're saving lives, and impacting a wide variety of spaces. So I want to ask you next. We've got a lot of students that have been hopping in from all over the world that have kind of this season where they're going to be coming up with ideas for how to improve the world of sports, play, fitness, etc. So if you could have a team, like you had this magic wand that had helped the teams kind of help you create a technology that would make your job more fun, better, safer, etc. What is one thing that you would kind of wish for? And again, this can be something, a lot of these students are starting out as young as 10 years old, so that this could be something future looking, right? That might sound crazy today, but they can work on for the future, or it might be something that you think like, hey, why don't we have this right now? I feel like there should be some technology to help me with this. Do you have anything in mind for either of those?
Anything that I've thought of is kind of sort of available. I think it needs to be improved and become more, like I said, cost effective.
Okay.
But I think drones are a big one.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a lot of drones that, on the beach and they can detect things automatically, or you didn't have to have somebody drive them. I was actually thinking maybe like if you have somebody in the water and you have one lifeguard swimming out and you have another lifeguard, instead of using a remote control to get the drone to him, you can maybe point a laser to the guy. Have you ever played the game Gears of War?
I haven't, but I'm getting.
It's a video game, Gears of War. There's something called the Hammer of Dawn, and the Hammer of Dawn is a weapon that you get, and it's like you shoot a laser at a spot where the enemy is, and it uses like a GPS satellite to shoot like a big laser beam down to the ground. So like you would use the laser beam to show the drone where the victim is or whatever, and you can get him there. I don't know. That's something maybe instead of having somebody actually driving the drone over there.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
but
I like that because you mentioned that a couple times with the drone and also the kind of the floating buoy. That one of the issues is that there'd have to be an operator behind it that might not be able to focus on the person, but needs to focus on getting the device over there. So yeah, if you could just somehow point a laser or put in a quick kind of direction for that item to go in, that would be great. Or I even think we just bought we're in our new home, so we just bought one of those little cleaning robots. And ours knows how to map out the house and where to go. So what if you had a drone that could just patrol kind of like automated area and look for things? It's not going to be as potentially as vigilant as you are at all times, but can kind of look in different areas. Either way, so for the students, that you're hearing these ideas, how I think in general, it's how do we make the technologies that are available more cost effective for cities to be able to purchase and bring into these types of scenarios that maybe that technology wasn't originally designed for, but could help save lives and make lifeguards more effective. Or how do you make them more prepared for the environment, whether that's waterproof or it's just like built for the heat and the salt and all the sand even. All of the other kind of aspects that are going on in there. So take your kind of thinking caps, think of things that exist already, things that don't exist, and how do I apply that to making the beach a fun, safe place by using technology. And I think the key thing here that you mentioned earlier, we haven't really touched on, maybe we can touch on that quick before we finish, is that there's such a wide spectrum. We kind of talked about at the beginning that there's not a ton of technology, but those that you have explained cover like a wide variety. Everything from the one that stood out for me was the polarized glasses. Like who would think that the polarization of glasses could be such an important tool for you to be able to effectively see what you're trying to accomplish or where the person is or where the rip is. So for the students out there, again, just keep your creativity and your thought process open for how you can help in this space.
Oh, and a little tip for polarization on glasses. Like if you have sunglasses, you're not sure if they're polarized. If you put your glasses on, I don't know if you've ever put sunglasses on and looked at your phone, and when you turn the screen, it gets darker. Sometimes it blocks it out completely. You can't see the screen at all. That means that not only is your screen polarized, but your glasses are too. So what I do is like, somebody asks me if their glasses are polarized, I'll get my glasses that I know are polarized, and you get their glasses and you start to turn the glasses. And as you turn the glasses, it'll block out the light, and that means that both glasses are polarized. So if you see you get glasses and you just turn them, you have it behind the other sunglasses and you turn them and it doesn't do anything, the same amount of light comes through, that means they're not polarized.
Okay, interesting. That's a good tip there. But normally, can you, like, if you look at it at a certain angle, can you normally see your phone when they are polarized?
If your glasses are polarized and you're looking at your phone in one position, you can see it fine. Okay. But when you turn it, maybe when you have it in the landscape mode, you can't see it. But when you put it in the portrait mode, the vertical, then you have trouble seeing.
Okay. Okay, because
So
my thought was, what if you're trying to, you mentioned some of those apps that are there to effectively, kind of help you with certain things. Um, my concern was if your polarized glasses, which are helping you, and the app that are helping you are conflicting and you can't see it properly, then
yeah.
maybe there might be a solution to help make that, polarized glasses where you can still see your device well. But maybe it's not as big of an issue as I thought. But either way, you just shared a wide variety of really good examples for students to think about. I appreciate you kind of sharing those different ideas based on your experiences, and I feel that some of these teams can really run with some of these ideas and kind of apply it to their projects for the season. So definitely appreciate you sharing those aspects. But I want to ask you one last question that I like to ask all the guests, and that's focused around perseverance. And so I know whether it's you as a distance runner / endurance athlete, or the work that you do that isn't always easy, but you need to be able to persevere and to endure it in order to help people out, or just any other things that you face in life. What are your tips for students when it comes to kind of pushing forward through things that might be difficult, especially in this kind of a crazy year? What are some of those ideas or thoughts that you have for them to keep going forward and persevering?
I think anything that you find, if you think back at things you've done in the past, at least for me, the things I look back at that I found that have made me the happiest, that I found the most rewarding, are things that I struggled through and I kept pushing through, and I got through it, and I didn't quit because it was hard, because it hurt, because it was stressful, whatever. I think it's very important to just kind of keep trucking, keep pushing through whatever it is. Even when you think, I can't do this, you'll be surprised what you can do,
Mm-hmm.
And even especially with running marathons and stuff like that, if you don't have perseverance, forget it. Forget it. Especially when you're trying to better your time, and you're already running really well and your times are fast. If you don't keep pushing through that pain, you're not going to get it. You're not going to run faster. Mm-hmm. One of the things with running marathons that I've noticed, or running 5Ks or whatever distance it is, yeah, it's not so much that you get faster,
okay,
but you build endurance, and more than anything, I think, is you find that you're more able to deal with the pain.
Okay.
Of when you're running and it hurts,
mm-hmm.
and just telling yourself it's okay that it hurts, it's okay that it hurts, and just pushing through that, and that's all perseverance, just getting through all that pain, getting through the stress, and coming out on the other side, and that's when you do that, that's when you're gonna find that things are rewarding. Those are the things you're gonna look at. You go, wow, that was awesome. I did that. I was able to get through it and do it. So nothing easy is worth doing at the end. It's like a puzzle. You don't want an easy puzzle. You want something to be challenging, so that when you solve the puzzle, you're like, I solved that. I was able to solve it, and you feel like you accomplished something. So
I love that, and I think there's such a good parallel there to what students are kind of facing with robotics, and then also just in science, technology, engineering, and math in general. And that's that just because it's difficult doesn't mean you're bad at it. Science and math are hard because you're on the cutting edge of technology. You're trying to do things that people have never done before. Some of the problems that we throw at you for your robotics season are designed to be very challenging. And that's, I think, for many of the reasons that Daniel mentioned, is that's how you're going to grow. That's how you're going to build that endurance and that resistance to keep pushing forward and go places you wouldn't have been able to go otherwise. And just realize that, again, because it's hard doesn't mean that you're bad at it. It doesn't mean that it's something for you. So just keep pushing.
And just because somebody else isn't able to do something doesn't mean you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't go, oh, this guy tried that, he couldn't figure it out, and this guy's pretty smart, or this guy's talented. Don't think that way. Don't think that way. And anything, if you look at Einstein and stuff like that, and what he was able to figure out, even after what's his name? With his theory of relativity and all that. Mm-hmm. They had a certain understanding of how the planets went around the sun and all that, but he was able to come up with this theory, which went against what they thought before that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just somebody else who's very talented and smart couldn't figure something out doesn't mean that you're not going to figure out a new way to do something or a better way to do something or just a way to do something, period, you know?
Absolutely. So I love that. I think there's so many good things that came out of this call, out of this discussion. If teams come up with a prototype, are you cool with them tagging you and saying, hey, this is what we're working on? Maybe if they're in the
That'll be fun.
area, you can try it out. Are you cool with them tagging you on that and letting us know?
Oh,
I think that would be
anytime.
awesome to see some of these teams working on some of the concepts you were talking about.
I mean, I'd love to do that. I'm sure a lot of the guys that work with me would be down to do that too.
Okay, awesome. So definitely if you're in the Miami area, or even if you're not, tag us in your ideas that you're working on. I think it'll be great to be able to get Daniel's perspective or some of his team's perspective. And if you're somewhere else, you can also reach out to your local kind of lifeguards and community there. For those who have been asking questions in Spanish or giving shout outs in Spanish, we are going to have a Spanish episode soon. So para las que están preguntando cuándo vamos a hacer uno en español, vamos a tener uno pronto, un episodio de Changing the Game en español. So we're not ignoring you guys, we're not forgetting about you. That's coming soon. Pero thank you, Daniel. Again, appreciate your concept or your ideas when it comes to technology, sharing background on how all this works and things that we may have seen but not necessarily noticed that happen when we're at the beach, and also your tips on perseverance and some of your backgrounds. Thank you very much for everything you shared, and I look forward to the day when we see that tag of some teams sharing some ideas with you and maybe even bringing you a prototype down to the beach. So
awesome. Like I was thinking, we have our lifeguard competitions every year where we do. It's all physical activities. It's that dory boat I was telling you about, the rowboat. Like we have competition on the rowboat or on the paddle boards, which is something I didn't mention. We use paddle boards, like big surfboards, to rescue people, which have improved with technology as well. They've gotten a lot lighter and they float more and all that. But we do a lot of different events. And I mean, once we start getting more technology involved in what we do, they'll probably incorporate that into the competitions. Let's say you have driving, competitions driving the drones for rescues and stuff like that. That'll be pretty cool.
I like that. I think for a lot of our first teams, the drivers of the robots would be very good candidates for that too. So I'd love to see that, both the competition aspect and kind of the sport of the brain right next to each other. So let's hope that this call can be a start to some of that cool stuff going on in the future. So thanks again, man. For everyone else, definitely check out this episode. If you weren't able to be there the whole time, it'll be up on YouTube soon. Stay tuned for more Changing the Game. And thank you to Rockwell Automation first for making this platform possible for us to share this with you all around the world. So see you guys. Thank you, Daniel. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you. Bye.